6 American soldiers have been killed in Afghanistan, the victims of a suicide bombing. The Taliban has claimed responsibility for the attack. It took place near Bagram Airfield, the biggest U.S. military facility in Afghanistan. We're told the bomber drove a motorcycle full of explosives into a foot patrol. CBS News foreign affairs correspondent Margaret Brennan joins me now from the Pentagon. How are you doing?
Hi, Michelle. Well, it's always a tough day at the Pentagon when there is news of fatalities among American soldiers who continue to serve in combat situations, though not technically fighting on the ground in Afghanistan. What we know, you described that situation very accurately, but what NATO has said so far is that the suicide attack happened around 1:30 p.m. local time in Afghanistan in a village nearby that Bagram airfield. That's an airfield that's being relied on heavily right now as there's an ongoing situation in the south of the country there where you see the Taliban resurgent and really trying to wrest control from Afghan forces who have tried to reestablish control of the country over the past more than decade-long war that the U.S. has helped to support them through. So with this attack today, we saw the U.S. and Afghan soldiers on a foot patrol jointly policing this area when the motorcycle sped toward them and the suicide bomber exploded what was really what they call an IED, an improvised explosive device, which is kind of just a homemade bomb. The Taliban has claimed responsibility for this, but the details continue to emerge. All this is happening in what is a very unstable security environment right now, particularly in the south of the country.
Margaret, this comes on the heels of officials confirming the death of an American worker just yesterday. What do we know about that incident and security in Kabul overall?
Well, the security situation has been getting worse and worse. What we know is this American aid worker, she was working for USAID on a project funded by the U.S. government. She had been living in an apartment building in that city, in the Afghan capital, and was reportedly murdered by a man who lived in that same apartment building, a mullah who apparently shot her to death, according to Kabul police, who say they were actually using a silencer on the gun. That's important because it indicates some premeditation there. We don't know if this crime is a murder that was aimed at her because she was American or if this was something else. It's just not clear at this point. But U.S. officials say this and the suicide attack that we saw against those U.S. servicemen are not necessarily related, though. Lisa Akbari, as we know her name is Lisa Akbari, she was a U.S. government worker and she had previously also worked for the U.S. Army. Broadly speaking, though, Michelle, the situation in Kabul is a risky one today. You did have U.S. embassy workers on lockdown because of rocket attacks in the capital. U.S. officials tell us that none of them hit the U.S. embassy, none of them hit the diplomatic compound immediately around that U.S. outpost. But despite that, due to the security threat, all the American diplomats were put on lockdown, told to shelter in place. But I'm hearing from my sources that all of them are accounted for and all of those diplomats are safe.
A tough place to be. Margaret Brennan at the Pentagon. Thank you.